Hey everyone, we are Harlan and Naya, and welcome to episode 13 of our pop culture series, Riding the Wake. Oh, it's been a long road getting here
Woo!
because today I had technical difficulties. If you are enjoying our content, please like and subscribe. In the comments, tell us what movies or shows you might like us to relate to paddling or investing. The more difficult, the more we have to try hard, the more we love it. So today's show is called Nothing on the Line, Seriously. And it's going to be a little different from our usual format because we're going to discuss the San Diego Asian Film Festival Spring Showcase movies that we watched. But before we get into that, we'll let you know what's happening in SoCal. So, Naya, what's going on?
May 22nd at West Coast Paddle Sports, 3460 Marina
Oh, wait,
Boulevard,
4360.
4360. 4360, if I got it wrong, sorry. You'll just see a lot of paddlers lining up somewhere. It's going to be the SUP swap meets. It's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be used and new gear for sale, raffles, food, entertainment, and dog adoptions. So you want to go to West Coast Paddle on Instagram or West Coast Paddle Sports on Facebook and go to their event page. Also, I just found out that the entertainment is going to be Flat Key Ohana, which is featuring our friend Harlan, our friend Carol Whitkin, who's playing in that with her family. So
That's
go see her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, come on down. And they do Hawaiian music, right?
Yeah, they just won the San Diego Music Award too.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So.
So looking forward to that. So also we've got the Kahana Moku Classic coming up, which is Saturday, June 4, 2022 in Marina Del Rey, California. Please go to www.scora.org to register and for more information about all that's going on there. There's not a whole lot of info on it yet, but definitely want to keep an eye. It will be a fairly big event,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping to go. That's the plan.
I, yes, yes, that's the plan.
So, Nea, I remember you telling me that this was your first San Diego Asian Film Festival. What was it like for you?
I thought it was a very good experience, a great experience actually. The setup inside the Ultra Stars Cinema Theater, which you have got me hooked on. I love that theater. They have the most comfiest chairs I've ever sat on,
They do have
and
pretty comfy
and
chairs.
and any movie for $10, I'm like, dude, I'm there. I am so there. Um, but I'll be honest, I really didn't know what to expect because it being a cultural film festival. I'm used to going to film festivals like the Spike and Mike animation film festivals, which are a little different crowd. Um, so I think I had this vision that it was going to be very posh and people were going to be dressed in cultural appropriate clothing and stuff being I didn't know what I was thinking. I thought I'd feel out of place, but I didn't. uh I was pleasantly surprised to see the mix of ethnicities and races in the audience themselves and the different age groups as well. Uh, so that was cool. I ended up seeing a movie called Nothing Serious, which is a great rom com film or K rom com film. Uh, but I do have to shout out to your volunteers, the young volunteers who were there, Harlan. They were awesome. They were very helpful. They helped my husband and I get to our seats and was explaining everything. Only thing I didn't like is you told me to be prepared to wear the mask inside, and show my vaccination card, which they checked the vaccination. Some were a little lax on the mask thing, so I'm not going to really harp on that. Um, but I had a cool experience. I don't know what your experience was because you've been doing this for a while, so I don't know how the movie selections or the event setup was different from previous years. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So this year it was more of a return to the norm than usual. So during the pandemic, we tried to do virtual festivals, and they were very successful for what they were. But because of the way distribution works and because of the way that film rights work and the way that just trying to get films from people in other countries, trying to get them to display them in a virtual format, it starts to get really awkward because later they're trying to get distribution, and one of the things they'll require is, look, you're distributors typically are very tolerant of film festival showcases, but they're not tolerant if you're like doing a distribution or wide distribution. And obviously, they don't want people pirating their content before they have a chance to get it to a wider distribution network, right?
Mhm.
So they're very cautious about all of that. So it was really difficult getting films during the pandemic, and it was difficult to do things like, secure funding for that and all that. So like I could talk a little bit more about it, although I'm not deep into the business side of it.
Mhm.
But just as a nonprofit organization that's here to try to present Asian and Asian American and sort of Pan Asian cinema in San Diego, and to try to fulfill the mission of the Pacific Arts movement, it's important to us to keep the wheels rolling
Mhm.
during these difficult times, right? So
Yeah.
the very first San Diego Asian Film Festival happened right after 9/11.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we basically went from sort of the country shutting down in September 11th, 2001, into November of that year. I think it was November, either October or November, um, having our first very small festival, sort of compact. I don't remember exactly where it was. Sorry, it's 2001, right? This was
Mhm.
before my time. I didn't join the board until 2010. I've heard about this,
Mhm.
but the opening night film was a film about the sort of, the Middle Eastern experience, and it was in the United States, and it was an important thing. So to some extent, the work that we do as an organization is serious, and to another extent, it is also like we're out there to entertain. I mean, we love films. The reason why we exist is so that we can share our love of films with folks, and particularly those films that a lot of times get bypassed by American distribution.
Mhm.
It's a lot better now. The work that we and a lot of other organizations have been doing in the United States to bring content in and to show American audiences, hey, there's like a whole world of film content out there. I think we as a large group, all of us have inspired organizations like Netflix and Amazon, and even some of these distribution companies like Criterion and stuff, to start bringing more content from around the world to us. But again, it's this massive, massive undertaking, and distribution companies jealously guard these rights. So you have to jump through all these crazy hoops to get the content out. It's
Yeah.
nuts. But yeah, we're trying to go
Awesome.
back to normal. We're trying to do our festivals we're trying to do our festivals in person again, and we had some good success. The theaters were packed at times, but I mean, obviously, there's still people who are nervous about going. Well, and a lot of our constituency, a lot of the people who go see our films are older folks, like
Mhm.
retirees. So they tend to be people with a little bit more time in the afternoons, because our festival runs for about a week and a half, and a lot of those days are weekdays. So it's harder for folks in the working age to be able to get there, especially like for a 4 p.m. show or something.
Yeah, you can totally.
Yeah, but I'm super glad you came, and let's talk about the film you saw. Let's talk about Nothing Serious.
So, so nothing serious, right? Is about a young woman who is fed up with relationships and puts herself out there on a online dating site and app, and just so happens to meet a young man who is a writer who works for an online magazine, who is told by his boss that he has to take over his ex coworker's column about sex. So right there is where they got me. I was like, yeah, okay, this seems like up my alley, you
So
know.
did he meet? Did they meet in the real world, or did they meet in the online on the meeting app?
So they met on the um app first, and then they hooked up later that afternoon. So
They
um
hooked up, or they just got
oh
together.
oh no, they hooked
They
up.
hooked up. All right.
So
So he
what
took his research for his new job very seriously.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is he writes, so he only wanted to write a four port well, actually he only wanted to write one article, but his boss liked it so much that she bumped it up to a four series thing, and then that got momentum online, and then she's like, you have to write 10 series about this thing. And so what ends up happening is the FWB, or KIC, as I say, so friends with benefits or keeping it casual relationship, actually was bought on company's money or company's dime, turns into him actually starting to have feelings for this young woman. The twist, however, is she finds out about his column because his boss texts him that it's taking off so much, and now she wants to up the 10 series to about 15 series. And she's reading all these comments, and then she realizes the things that he's saying, even though he doesn't say, hey, her name in the article, all the things that they have done. And she goes, well, at least I know that I'm popular, and da da da, all this stuff. And as things go on, she, eventually she comes around, and they have a talk. They get really drunk, which I'm finding is a common theme, that they love their alcohol over in Korea.
Yeah, they show people getting hammered a
a,
lot in
a
their
lot.
film and television. A lot.
Yeah. So that must be big money. Here's a tip: if you want to make money overseas, make some good alcohol
Well, and
and just
you,
sell
you know what else is funny about it? Not only are they selling the alcohol, which I find charming,
it.
but they show the ridiculous side of drinking, whereas we in the West kind of do the drinking in this sort of faux elegant way, where it's
Yeah.
like shaken not stirred, or like you'll be drinking. You'll either do one of two things. You'll be like abusing the alcohol, right? So you'll
Yeah.
get a scotch and you'll be like glug 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 and not choking. It's like, okay, yeah, that's colored water, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
care how alcoholic you are. You're not. You're like
You're not fooling anybody.
You're not
You
fooling anybody by doing that. That's like cartoon stuff. Or you're like Lucifer with your thing, and it's like I'm enjoying my
Oh.
scotch for the 5,000th time today. And it's like, dude, you're gonna go into like shock. But all right, it's fine if you're Lucifer and you're not human and you're doing that sort of thing. But in a lot of television shows where like they're normal people and they're just functional alcoholics and they're just drinking,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine, but they never show the repercussions. In Korea, they're awesome about it. They're like, I'm fucking drunk, right? It's like a frat party and people are barfing on each other. They play it for all the humor and all the real.
Yeah. And
I
then
like that. I
the
like that.
morning, the morning they're like,
The morning
oh,
after soup,
what did I do?
the
Oh, wake up,
blackouts, like
wake up.
they have all of it. All
They
of it.
no sympathy, no sympathy when you're hungover. Here, drink this and get to work.
Yeah, they even have hangover soup, which is basically any soup you can stomach after you're hungover, just
Oh
to
yeah.
get some liquids back in your body and electrolytes.
So yeah, so they decide after they've learned so much about each other and go through this thing that they actually want to pursue a real relationship together. They're going to try and
Oh.
make it. I was like, oh, that wasn't the ending I was expecting, but okay.
What did you
So
expect?
I don't know. I mean, I mean, he did grovel. He did grovel to like, have her realize that he did have feelings for her and that he he was just doing his job, but his job led him to um, this relationship, and she was trying to get over her ex who was having sex with her but then married another woman because he was in love with her. So it was like it was all this like, and there, you know what, I have to tell you something. After watching the K dramas that I've watched with you, that you've had me watch,
Yeah.
I have never seen more sex in a Korean like K drama rom com than I saw in this movie. Like the first, like I think I
Yeah.
told you that the first scene was she was getting banged, from behind in a bed with her ex, and she wakes up and says, what 30-year-old woman has a wet dream? I was like, okay, this is totally different.
Yeah. So I'm more a fan of the more uh teeny bopper friendly content in K-drama television than I
Yeah.
am of the movies. Cuz the movies
Yeah.
try to be more they try to be more edgy,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes off with this weird sort of how do I it's like they lose some of the charm. They lose some of the naivete that I think they're really good at in the K dramas, like capturing the naivete of a
Mm-hmm.
person who may be for the first time dating or something like that. There's something charming about it. In fact, that word comes up whenever I talk about K dramas a lot. I love how charming the people are. And so with the films, there's a lot more like angstiness and maybe passion and they're more it's definitely more adult oriented and there's not
Mm-hmm.
and they lose a lot of that charm. They just do. And
I mean,
I'm not against sex in films, obviously.
no.
I I think it's fine, but
I mean, they did start off with a bang. I'll tell you that.
Da-dum.
I mean for 70% of the movie, they stayed true to the, the setup of what, we're used to seeing in a K drama. So I liked that, but it was just like it was different. I was like, because I told my husband, I'm like, if I'm not into this in 20 minutes, we're leaving. And then that scene came on, and I'm like, yep, we're staying.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you stayed. But
Yeah.
no, I actually I am very judgy about Korean films.
Mm.
I'm fine usually with their thrillers and their horror. Like I'm down like Train to Busan, fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, it is now, I believe, available on Netflix. You can find it, you can find it in like distribution now. I don't know exactly where it is, but Train to Busan, again, it's a zombie horror film, but it's a very kinetic, very cool zombie horror film, and the people in it are hilarious. So you can kind of think of it like K drama with like a bad dad and an irritated kid and a bunch of ajumas on a train all yelling at each other while being like chased by a horde of zombies and running and beating I like Train to Busan's fantastic, and in fact you'll see it like referenced in a lot of other things, right? So I like that kind of content. I like Host. I wasn't actually a fan of Parasite. I know it won the Oscar and stuff, but most of the time when things are chosen for Oscar representation, I don't actually like them. It's usually my least favorite film of the year. So Parasite, it was okay. The same guy who did Parasite did Host, which is kind of like a kaiju monster film, and it actually is pretty entertaining. But again, like when they try to do dramatic stuff, when they try to do comedy kind of stuff as a movie, I feel like it just doesn't hit right. It just doesn't hit. It's like their storytelling, like they have different writers, or the writers are more used to doing the long form, the 16 episode or the 8 to 16 to 20 episode series arcs. They don't know how to handle the 2 hour arc. To be fair, Hollywood doesn't handle those arcs very well either. Now that I'm looking at them, like by comparison, they're bad. They're just like there are very few rom-coms that really nail it. They're like for every one Harry Met Sally, there's 99 that just uh
Didn't meet.
they fail to launch. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it was very interesting. Um, my analyst of this analyzation of this film is how dependent as a society we are on wanting to be wanted, and how technology plays a huge part in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder about that. Because like we're making a show now, right?
Yeah.
And like what if we were to become famous?
We are famous, Harlan. We are the number one pop culture podcast on here.
The number one pop culture investing paddling podcast in the world, in fact.
In the world,
In the
baby.
world. And because of that, I wonder if it's going to go to my head. I wonder if I'm going to become a worse person because of it. Kind of like how anyone who goes on Twitter becomes a worse person for it.
We're on Twitter, Harlan.
Yeah, we are on Twitter. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, what's What's our handle on Twitter? At Riding the Wake?
Riding Wake, I think.
Oh, at Riding Wake. Yeah, at Riding
Yeah,
Wake on Twitter.
because you can only have so many characters.
You could all or somebody else had Riding the Wake, not sure which.
So, on that note of how Twitter makes us really bad people, um, what I thought was how much stock we put into being liked on these apps and social media, and that kind of got me to thinking. I'm just like, yeah, like you see a lot of people like holding their phones. Like I have seen so many people take their phones and just go scroll, scroll. Oh, I have to put something on because I need to be liked. I need those like 2,000 likes. No, no, you don't. You really don't need those 2,000 likes. You just want those 2,000 likes, right? Like for me, when I post stuff, I don't do it for likes. I just post because I want to inspire somebody to go find their passion, whether it be paddling, whether it be working out, or just saying, hey, here, have a good day. I don't do it for likes. Now, if people like it, that's great. The numbers go up, but that's not necessarily why I do it.
I tend to post things for like political reasons. I would say that most of the time when I'm posting something, it's something political. Occasionally, I'll post something about like investing,
Yeah.
and that's more the idea that I'd like to try to just change the conversation to things that are more serious. I don't know. I feel like Twitter is one of those places where, because that's where mostly I post. I don't do any Facebook really. The reason why I like posting out there is because there are serious conversations happening, and but then they degrade fast, and it's so disheartening because you'll have
Yeah.
like a very normal exchange, and if a couple of people are watching, one of those people is going to troll, or they're going to be a jerk, or they're going to not read the other posts, and they're going to just like, and it's like, wow, I is this worth it? I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think so. That's part of the reason why we're doing this show, right? This show allows us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
It allows us to be two different people with two different perspectives having a conversation about things that matter, and having a conversation also with
Yeah.
the folks who are our fans, because we have fans, believe it or not.
Television
And
fans, we love you.
because we'll talk to some of our fans in the real world, or if they want to make comments, they can, but or they can just talk to us, right? Because you can find us, we're not hiding. And you can like, and those conversations will lead us to have further discussions here. Those conversations are so much more important than the things that we would say in even a long paragraph on Facebook. It's just not,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
No, it doesn't. And that leads me into my next point for my analyst is the keeping it casual transition into a full on relationship status. Um, is that the best way to have a solid foundation for a relationship? Just keeping it casual, being friends with benefits. Um, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because
I don't
that
know.
that's a very sticky answer.
I guess
You
it
know,
depends on who you are, right?
yeah. But I mean, because sex may bring you together, that physical attraction, that mysterious curiosity, but it won't necessarily foster a relationship. It may satisfy that instant gratification, I'm wanted feeling, but it won't really foster I think confidence. Do you?
No, I don't think so. Um, like I'm definitely a fan of people having sex before of people having sex while they're outside of a like committed relationship. I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with it as a as an idea. But if you're the kind of person who has an objective when you're dating,
Mhm.
right? I think you need to think about what your objective is before you start thinking about your tactics and strategies for that activity, right? So if you're a person and you're like, "Look, I'm ready to get married," or "I think I'm interested in finding a life partner," um, for whatever that it means to you, right? I don't think that the best tactic is to go into it with sex first, because I, there's probably two bad reasons for that. One could be, well, you like it, you like the sex, but you don't like the person. And so you're
Yeah.
like, well, I'll keep going back and hanging out with this person because sex is great. We'll go see a movie, have some sex. I don't know. They don't match my political beliefs. They don't match my religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs, whatever they happen to be, right? They don't match my view of the world. I don't like talking to them that much, but man, they're hot in bed. I mean, I have some friends who have had this situation. I
Don't worry, we're not naming any names
I'm not
here,
going to name
folks.
any names. I'm just saying that those relationships are short term. They're or if they're kept long term, they're going to frustrate you and they're going to delay your ability to meet other people. Because the time that you're spending doing that is time that you're not out, you know, doing other stuff, joining a club or uh, going to a going to activities where you'll meet people. Because like uh, word to the wise, don't date at work. Please don't. Please
Don't
don't.
if
I
you
know it's. I
what
know they
is
do it on the K dramas. I know they do. I know they do it on the K dramas. Please don't date at work. Please don't do
what
it.
there's a saying, right? Don't dip your pen in company ink or something like that.
Yeah. That's the phrase. That's the phrase.
So yes, I totally agree with that. Do not do that. It is a red flag. Red flag. Wave your little red flag up there, you know.
Yeah, and there was another reason
Although
not to do it that I had. One was you like it, and the other is like you could mangle what could be a good relationship by getting into sex too early.
yeah, yeah. I mean, all the points that you've made, I I'm totally on board with. I mean, when you're young and you're not attached to somebody, not too young, like maybe in your, I'd say 20-ish on up to your maybe mid 30-ish up, you know, or whenever you decide that you want to, you know, uh, start getting serious with somebody. You know, life is about exploration. It's about experimentation. It's about knowing who you are as a person and trying to find somebody who, if that's what you want, to find somebody who aligns with your beliefs. And sometimes the opposites do attract. Um,
This is
I
true.
will tell you that me and my husband are me and my husband are opposite on so many things, but we do have an understanding that none of our views, our opposing views, are deal breakers for us. We respect each other's opinions, and that kind of solidifies our love. You know, so I think it does happen. Um, so on that note, I want to talk about the paddling aspect of this movie.
Yeah.
So um, there were different things. So as far as paddling goes, when does that transition of rec paddling go into racing?
When you say rec,
The
you mean recreational?
recreational paddling, when does that transition happen? Why are we afraid as paddlers to huli and paddle on the right side? Is it fear of failing? Is it fear of falling? But we have to understand that we're falling into nothing but water below us. That's helping us get to where we need to go. Um, and why? So why do we feel the need to be wanted or better? When did the feeling of just enjoying the paddling and being in that moment become out of the norm? And the fourth one was, why did we put so much stock into trying to win a $5 medal? Is it for the feeling of ecstasy and recognition? Like I don't know how we're going to tackle those points, Harlan. So do we want to try?
I like a lot of these points. I like a lot of these points. So what made you come up with these concepts? Like what from from watching cuz I didn't see this film. So like what brought up the idea of transferring from recreational paddling to race paddling for you? Is this idea of
So
moving from just casual sex into like full on relationship, like emotional burdens?
yes, yes.
Uh, uh, so I wanted to talk about that actually.
Yeah, I love when you do this. I
Want to
like,
talk
yeah.
about that? Yeah, let's talk about that. I like racing, but I have an emotional I have some emotional baggage with regard to it. So I like recreational paddling, I guess, but more than that, I like training. I like training with people. Like if we were to go out with a bunch of people who didn't care about getting better and they're just like, I want to go out and like go around. You know how at Disneyland they have
Yeah.
the team boat. It's
Yeah.
basically a dragon boat that they've dressed up with big pads on the sides, and you can like go around Tom Sawyer Island, right? And we did this at one point. We got like a whole bunch of people together from San Diego Dragon Boat and from the UCSD Dragon Boat team, and we went to Disneyland one day, and we just uh, we dominated a boat basically, and we had the steers
you
guy.
you dominated. Okay, you dominated a boat at Disneyland. Let's just think about that fact right there. Let's just think about that fact alone.
Yeah, so we basically like said, all right, everybody else, you go ahead of us, and we're gonna take our 20 people and we're gonna get on that boat. And then we raced, and the guy who was steering for us had to be from Disneyland, right? It was this big guy. He was all into it because other dragon boat teams do race there occasionally, and they have their own dragon boat team. And so we did a race. He timed us. Unfortunately, you have to stop midway through the race to wait for any other boats that may be going into or out of the little moat they have there. And so we had to stop for the big white propeller ship that they have. I don't remember what the name of the boat is called. So we didn't beat anybody, but we were doing really good. We were doing really good when we were on. Why am I doing this? Recreation, right? Recreation. Ordinarily, when you go to Disneyland, there's just a bunch of people, and they're just sort of going flap, 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 and they have no idea what they're doing. Nobody's coaching them. They don't care, right? And sometimes I'll go out with people who who are not yet into it, and they're kind of like, "Oh, okay, I'm trying, I guess, but I don't know what to do, and I'm okay with that as long as you're willing to improve. But it's not fun for me to be out with a bunch of recreational paddlers because I want to go and feel like I want to feel like we as a group are trying to go fast. I don't care that we're not going that fast, right? I don't care how fast we go. I don't have to be in a rocket ship, right? Because when you're paddling a boat, you're not going to go much faster than 7 or 8 miles an hour most of the time, unless you're riding a wave, right?
Yeah.
But I love that feel of the spray in your face and people splashing you occasionally, and you're trying to go as fast as you can. I love that feeling of effort, coordinated effort. I love that part of it, and there's a lot of emotion that goes along with it. So like when folks come out and they're like trying it out, they don't have that. And I wonder if that is that feeling of I'm just trying out sex with a bunch of people. You're not doing your best. I will say that as someone who has been having sex for decades with the
And
same
paddling for a
person
couple of years.
and paddling for a couple of years, practice helps all kinds of physical activity. I can just say that. Practice helps, right? And practice with your partner or practice with your team.
Other than yourself.
We're going to earn the explicit rating here. Or
Other than
practice on
yourself.
your craft, right? Learn your craft. All these things are important. And so I love that, Naya. I love that as a concept. What do you think about that? Is that how you were thinking about it? Or something similar?
I mean, I could do without the rec paddling, but I know the importance of it. I know, perfecting your technique. So
Well, technique work isn't rec paddling. Technique work's not fun.
Sometimes it is, because like when I'm in a rec boat, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not going to go fast. I know that I'm going to just be like, I got to get out of my mind of this is going to suck. So what I do is I paddle very lightly, but I work on my technique. That is my time to like,
Okay.
okay, I have to perfect this because other than doing it on my one man, there's no other way. Like, because when I'm on my one man or I'm on a 6 man or if I'm on the dragon boat, I want to go. I want to race and I want to go.
But but you can't work on technique for a team when you're in your own boat. I mean, you can, I guess.
You just have to know yourself. Like
you do. You have to know yourself. I'm actually that is a lie. I was trying to relate this to sex somehow, but it's not a direct correlation.
No,
it's not a direct.
It's like it's like your boat going on in the wind. Like you're paddling, oh, the wind's pushing you. Okay, we gotta come back somehow to do that buoy turn. So I mean, I understand the importance of rec paddling. Do I like it? Yeah.
I don't do it that much.
Well, that's true. I mean, because San Diego, we really don't like the Dragon Boat. We really don't do rec paddling. We do training.
There's a rec day for Ikunakoa. I haven't done it yet.
Well, yesterday I did it, and it was just basically we were doing drills. That was it. And going
so it's just a softer day. It's we're not going 6 miles today.
Yeah, it's like we may do like 1.5 miles or 2. Like, really?
Okay.
That what are we doing? We're just gonna work on timing. Okay.
Timing. Hey,
Great.
hey, working on timing's not not useless.
No, but it's
Definitely
like,
helpful.
okay. I'm like, okay,
Definitely helpful.
okay. So what about the second point? Why are we afraid to huli and paddle on the right side?
Okay, so I have problems with this. I have distinct problems with this. When I'm in an OC6, I feel like I can definitely reach out on the right side now. It's a much heavier boat. When I'm in the dragon boat, I feel like I can reach out on the right side now. I don't have yeah, but a lot of I had to do a lot of work in a OC1 first to get my balance, and I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand until Red put me in a surf ski. And when I got on the surf ski, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to fall in the water as many times as it takes before I start learning that I can use my paddle and my butt to balance together. So, like paddling, for those of you who don't paddle and maybe just listen to this for the comedy and our charming our charming voices, the way paddling works is kind of like walking, but you've got a shoe that you're holding in your hands and another shoe that's stuck to your butt. And you're sliding on ice, I guess, or jello. You're sliding on jello, right? And you've got to take the shoe that you're holding in your hands and you got to use it to kind of brace yourself. And then you got to take the shoe that's on your butt and you got to brace that. And then you kind of scooch them together and then you flap them apart and you scooch them together and you flap them apart. This is a highly technical explanation of how paddling works. I know. So for those of you who are like 20-year paddlers, I hope that this really helps you understand better what paddling is all about. It doesn't make it not true.
Really, it's not like it's not like placing your foot on the ground and then taking the step and placing your foot on the other ground and then
if your foot is your ass and your other
balance,
foot is a stick that you're sticking into jello, yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's exactly what it's like.
You're having me in tears here, kid.
But all right. So my point is surf ski. So in a surf ski, you don't have the ama. So our outrigger canoes have an ama. It's an outrigger that hangs off to the side. It's heavy, right? So it keeps you a little bit. It gives you a little bit of balance on one side because it's heavy, and on the other side, it's buoyant, right? So it presses against the water. So it's easier to rest on the buoyant side. So a lot of people will lean left so that they don't, so that they're basically like prevented from getting in the water because you're afraid of it. And I wouldn't say that I was afraid of falling in the water. I mean, obviously I can swim. It's not a big deal, but it is annoying. And I will also say this, it's embarrassing to fall in. It's straight up embarrassing. So like we were all lining up for a race. It was like one of those races during the pandemic. Or wait, was it before? What race was it? I think it was a pandemic race. And we were all lining up for a race. And we're all like 30 seconds, get ready. And I just go because I'm just chilling there. And someone's like getting close to me, and I'm like, why are they getting close to me? And I'm trying to draw on my offside, on my right side, and I just go right into the water. And I'm like trying to get back up into my boat real fast, and and people are looking at me, and I'm just like, oh my God, we weren't even going anywhere. I was just sort of at the start line, and I went over. Uh,
It Hoolies make people smile.
Hoolies do make people smile. It makes everybody. I will say this: if anyone is ever like, if you are ashamed to hoolie, just know it's like you're a comedian. You can't do wrong if people are laughing. And believe me, once you go in the water, you can't hear it because you're underwater, but everybody is laughing. And it's fine. It's fine. I guess it's kind of like
Like Fred
sex.
said, yeah. I mean, there has to be comedy in there somewhere, and I've always taken the position. And Red's told me this, Steve's told me this, June's told me this. A lot of people have told me this. Once you fall in the water and you get back up, who cares if you fall in the water again? You've already done it. You know what's waiting for you.
You know what's waiting for you.
Yeah. So good for that. I don't think we need to talk about the need to feel wanted or better. But there is a moment that enjoying the moment sometimes becomes out of the norm because we're so focused on wanting to beat somebody who is in front of us. And I am guilty of that when I go into a race, when I'm racing and I see an orange boat or a blue boat in front of me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up to that boat and I'm going to pick that boat off and I'm going to pass that boat. And then I'm going to pick another boat and I'm going to pass that boat. It's all, but I don't, it's just a repetitive thing for me in my head until I get done with the race. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I did the race. Like, I don't enjoy that moment of, oh, I'm paddling with my friends who are paddling against me. It's one of those things where I don't get to enjoy. But I've heard other people be like, yeah, I just enjoyed my paddle. I'm like, dude, you came in like 10th. They're like, yeah, but I enjoyed my paddle. I was with my friends and I stayed with so and so. And I'm like, I don't get that.
I think I do that too. I paddle like you do, where like I'm out there and I'm friendly with the other paddlers, right? I'll
Yeah.
talk to people, um, but I definitely will choose someone and I will try to beat them because I guess it's more fun for me if I'm trying to not win the race. I mean, I'm not aiming for that, but I'm trying to kind of do the when you play what's the game, Mario Kart,
Yeah.
right? You can't see everybody on the Mario Kart board, but you can kind of see the map. You can see where everybody kind of is. It's kind of like that when you're paddling. You can kind of see the other people, but the one that's next to you, the one that's right in front of you, they're the one who's going to hit you with the like the turtle shell, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to race with them and jockey with them and have your fun there. That's the part of the fun for me. And then after I'm done, like I don't remember who I was with or who I was paddling against necessarily, but while I was out there I was having more fun because of that. It gives me that feeling of competition. I like that.
Nice.
I like that.
Now
So
what
yeah,
now
and it
what about
doesn't make me feel better. Like I'm not doing that because I feel like I'm a better paddler than that person. I'm just trying to race, I guess. For the
yeah.
fun of racing. It's like when you're a kid and you're just like running with your friends. Nobody knows why you started running.
Okay, Forrest,
You're
you
just
tell
screaming
it.
and running. Oh!
Oh God.
That's what
Yeah.
races are like for me. They say go, and I'm just like, oh!
And hopefully nobody hoolies in front of you.
Yeah, hopefully no one who's.
That's why I take the outside. I stay away from that melee. over there. So my last point, Harlan, do you want to try and get to my last point here? Why do we put so much stock in trying to win that $5 medal?
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. When I was in high school, when I was in high school, our band leader, our band director, was a
There's
great
no,
guy.
yeah.
Probably the only teacher from high school that I really gelled with. He had a very ironic teaching style. I don't know. He had a very professional teaching style. And when I say professional, I mean more like the professional world instead of academic. He wasn't trying to teach us academics. He was trying to teach us the business of being in a band. And to that extent,
Mm-hmm.
he noticed that we were having problems gelling together, and he brought basically a one of those team management consultants in to do a rah rah with us. And this guy was really good at getting a crowd rallied. And he had us do these sort of competition chants at one point, and we were, and he was basically he. I remember exactly what he used. He used a chapstick. This is Burt's Bees, but he was using a chapstick, and he was like, "Who wants to win this chapstick?" And he got us all rallied up. We were screaming and chanting for the chapstick. And eventually, at one point, he like jammed the chapstick up his nose. He's like, "Who wants this chapstick that I had jammed up my nose?" And we're screaming, and you know, and it goes with this idea. It's not about the chapstick. It's not about the $5 medal. It's not about that it was up his nose or not. It has nothing to do with that. What matters is whether the left side of the crowd is having more fun than the right side of the crowd, right? And again, it's that idea of all the kids are running and nobody knows why. That's I, also to a darker extent. I have actually a investment. I have an investment point for this as well. To a
Okay.
darker extent, you can use this feature for good or ill in professional settings. So, in professional settings, I have seen this used to bypass or disregard incentive structures that have been carefully calculated by companies, right?
Mm.
So, so you have to be very careful about what you promote, right? So this is something that was carried out a lot at my former employer. You would have a very carefully constructed incentive plan. It had money attached to it. It had potential for advancement, presumably attached to it, but it was unofficial, right? And so lawyers and stuff would go through all this stuff. But then you would have a smaller group that'd be like, "Look, everybody, I have a chapstick that I had stuck up my nose. Want to win it?" And the key to this, the thing that got us the thing that got us in trouble, the thing that got the entire company in trouble was this idea that all of a sudden you have a competing priorities, right? And this one priority, because it was being highlighted by management, it was sidelining the things that we were supposed to be doing, the things that we were supposed to be doing well. Now, mind you, the company's problems were deeper than this, much, much deeper and darker, right? But it was part of it, right? So it was a component of it. And you could use it to manipulate people into doing things that were not in the best interests of society or the company involved. So be
Did you just
careful.
put that up your nose?
Be careful about, no, I'm just going to use it normal. My nose My nose could definitely fit it. I don't have anything to prove now. I don't have anything to prove. Like I could put this whole flashlight up my nose.
And that's a trip and another story about how we go to the hospital
How
and
we go to the
what
hospital.
and what we learn from that.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a situation where you like I feel like the medal is never the thing. Whether it's an Olympic medal or an Oscar, it's not the fact that you get the physical thing.
When I first started out in sports, I always wanted the medal.
Hmm.
I always wanted the medal because that solidified that I was better than somebody,
Hmm.
you know, and having the, I'm not going to call them disabilities that I have, but I had balance issues. I I stayed back in school because I wasn't a strong reader, so I had learning disabilities as I can put them. So, and then being taller than all the kids in my class when I was in like fourth grade, I was even taller than the teacher. So having been the freak and then being one of three minorities in my town, so I always had those blocks. So to me, that getting that medal represented that I was not a freak, that I was strong, that I was somebody. So it had a different meaning for me rather than, oh, I just want that medal to win that medal. It was to prove to myself and to other people, hey, I am I'm talking no bullshit. I am better than what you think I am. I'm better than what your educational system has told me that I will never achieve. So to me that represented that all the way up until I would say probably maybe this last race, Crystal Pier. I I want to win a medal? Yes. Did I think we could? We probably could have, but did I care about winning that medal? No, I didn't care at all because to me, that Crystal Pier, that race that we just did, was more of I'm just going to go out there, have fun. I'm going to cheer for the kids that we just melded with. I'm going to cheer for the people that I've helped these 2 weeks trying to you know do little tweaks to help them get better, to feel better about their stroke, to feel better about themselves. And four or three or four, whatever I'm on, is I know that I'm going to be in a boat with people that know my strength. I was in a boat with June, you, uh, Mario. No, June wasn't there. Sorry. People that I knew who knew my strengths and people I just met. And I just wanted to enjoy that paddle. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
So does that make sense why I wanted to have that medal? So my mindset is changing.
Yeah. Yeah. It totally
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. I think, yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that. I get it. I
Good.
get it.
So to end on my analyst there, I think that's a good place to stop. Um, so Harlan,
Yeah.
please tell me about your movie. I am so curious to hear about your movie.
Okay. So mine is also Korean. It is also but is a Korean thriller. And I guess this is uh the kind of rebel ex cop kind of genre. So, you're familiar with this. The film's called On the Line in English distribution, and it's called Boisu in Korean, which I believe is like from the English word for voice, because it sounds like voice. And it's about voice fishing. I think that's why that title is there. I don't know Korean well enough to understand exactly the etymology of the word, but uh, it's my guess. It's my guess. So this is a South Korean film. It was directed by Gok Kim and Sun Kim. I don't know if they're related. Sorry, I didn't dig into that too much. Um, my apologies if you were hoping for more. Go check it out on IMDb. You'll learn more. On the Line. And so let me give you a quick rundown of what's going on here, and then I want to get into an investing slash paddling analysis of it. So, On the Line, it was pretty fun. It's basically this ex-cop. He's become a construction worker and he's doing well. He's married and he's planning on taking his wife for a vacation, or no, not a vacation. They're going to move to a new city where he's going to get a better job. He's going to get a promotion and kind of be going to be like the construction team lead on some project or something out there. It came with benefits and stuff like that. Great, right? So the same day he finds out about this, his wife, who lives in another city and is working at a job during the daytime, gets a phone call from a voice phishing scam group. So what they had done was beyond your normal voice phishing. What they had done was they had taken and targeted members of this construction crew, and they had found the people who cared for them, parents and siblings, kids and wives, and they had set up this plan. So you might want to watch this movie. I'm not going to spoil it too much for you, but the point is they run a kind of they run a hardcore scam on this group of people, and she ends up getting hurt because of it. And so she's in the hospital and their money is all gone, and a bunch of people lost their money because of it. And this ex-cop is like going to his former coworkers in the police department, and the former coworkers are like, yeah, we're working on it, we're aware. And he's like, you know what, I think I see an opportunity here. I think I see an opportunity for excellence here. And he goes and tries to insinuate himself wherever he can into this organization, because as they are trying to... So it's a fairly large criminal organization. It has branches in South Korea and extends outward from a core in China, somewhere in China, mainland China. So what he's trying to do is follow the tentacles back to the main body of the octopus and spear it in the face. So to do this, he basically seizes a series of opportunities, courier drops, infiltrating to locations where he knows he can kind of get an in, and then dropping hints to cops who are still active police officers to go ahead and follow him. And a lot of thrillers follow this same kind of formula, right? So you've kind of got the person who's the rogue operative doing crazy shit, leaving clues for the professional cops to follow, and they kind of ride in the wake behind, and everyone is kind of riding the wake of these little mistakes that are being made by the criminal organization until they finally find the head of the criminal organization. And I'll let you guess what happens at the end, because this is an Asian cinema. You actually don't know whether he wins or not, which is one of the great things about Asian cinema. So in Hollywood, torturing
Give
Naya a
me
little
my
bit here.
ending.
Torturing Naya a little bit here.
Give me my ending.
One of the great things about Asian cinema, as opposed to American cinema, is at the end of every Die Hard, you know that there's going to be another Die Hard afterwards, and it's going to have the same hero. Therefore, the hero will live. This is not the case in Asia. They sometimes, oftentimes, and the Chinese particularly will do this. Like, it's the Koreans aren't as egregious about this as the Chinese are. Like, the Chinese will be all like, as long as the family line survives, everything is okay. Everybody can die except for this one little male child, right? Or everybody just dies, right? So like I've watched some older things where it's like, yeah, eh, there's a person, but they can't overcome the power of the state. Like that's very much part of part of Chinese cinema and Chinese themes, right? Korea has similar themes. So I'm not going to tell you whether or not he actually makes this happen, or whether he survives. So I'll leave that to y'all. You can go ahead and pick this up when it gets distributed. I expect it will. It looked like a pretty big budget film, so I expect you'll see it on some streaming service soon. It might even make a theater stop. I don't know. Keep an eye out. Anyway, this formula on how to seize the moment, Naya, it is literally riding the wake.
Yeah.
Literally riding the wake.
Yeah.
So, I guess a question for you, because this is something that I think everybody kind of gets, but they may not have thought about it. So, especially if you've grown up and you've tried to ride waves, if you've been near a place where you have the ocean, right? So, how do you think about catching a wave when you're on the water?
Honestly, I really don't think about it. I just go for it, and if I see it, if a wave happens to come in my direction, I either do one of two things. I either paddle towards it really, really fast so I can get over it, or if it's coming under me and pushing me, I'll just paddle very lightly and just enjoy that little lift. And I'm like, yeah, just I want to stay on this. I want to stay, and then it goes down. I'm like, oh, here comes another one. Okay, yeah, I'm just enjoying this. What I did yesterday when I was paddling to Deanza Cove. I had a few big ones, big wakes, and then very little ones. But I'm just like, oh, let me stay on this. Don't. No, you died. Okay, now I gotta work. So that's my philosophy of how I ride wakes.
Okay. Yeah. So when I'm out, so we got to keep in mind this is California water. We're not talking about like Tahiti or like
Hawaii or
Hawaii or
whatever.
something like that, where you've got like a big clear wave coming in a nice clear formation, and all you have to do is be perpendicular to it and like paddle into it, and then like in California, the wake kind of comes in a confusing way. The
Yes.
winds change direction kind of frequently, and you've got, especially when you're out in the sort of, when you're out past the breakwater in the
Yeah.
ocean, like you'll have waves coming from here, coming from there. You'll get these
Like,
cross things going on. It's
yeah.
very, it's more challenging. There's still wake there you can grab, right? But it takes more patience and it takes more recognition. And so I got a chance to paddle out in Hawaii, and I found it much easier because it's clear, right? Here it's that training that I got in Hawaii for a couple of days that really helped me learn what to do here when I'm grabbing physical wake. And so what I will try to do is get myself situated in the right direction so that I'm perpendicular to the wake I'm choosing. And then as soon as I sense it coming up from behind me and my bow starts to dip, I will lean into it. I will pull, well, not pull, but I will reach harder, right? I will try to dig more. I'm basically trying to put more energy into it, right? Because I want to match speed, and it might be going faster than I am.
Yeah.
And but that takes a lot of energy, right? So if I'm out there and I know I'm going to be out there for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I got to keep my energy going. I can't do that constantly, right? I can't be matching speed with and I can't be trying to catch every wake, every wave. I can't be trying to do that. So I have this frame of mind where I'm like, I'm going to try to find the good ones, and the good ones are the ones you can catch, right? So you try to find the one. If this one passes you, you try to grab the one that's coming up behind. You got to let some go so that you can grab the one that you can grab, right? So in investing, there are lots and lots of waves. So and they're and this is the same kind of way, right? So you can do what you're doing, Naya, in investing. You can kind of be like, look, I'm going this direction. If a wave comes, I get it. I enjoy it. I ride it. To equate that to an investing strategy, I would say it's something similar to doing a kind of basic investing style where you're like, okay, I'm in maybe an index fund, or I've bought some stocks and I'm just investing on a regular basis. And I'm consistently putting additional money in. And you can think of every time you invest as putting your paddle in the water one more time. Each time you put the paddle in the water, you're not going to be able to accelerate a 1,000-pound boat all by yourself from 0 to 7 miles per hour. What happens is you and the rest of the team, all y'all together, you put a little bit of energy in, you put a little bit of energy in. There's some drag, there's wind, there's the drag from the boat and the water, but the boat eventually gets some inertia and it glides. And you, every time you put that paddle in, you're adding a little bit more force, and that keeps you moving. It keeps the inertia from falling off, and it keeps your boat going at a nice, easy clip. And then when that wave comes behind you, you can ride it, because you're not going to be able to ride it if you're just sitting there. It's just going to roll right under you. You have to
Oh
have
yeah.
some momentum. You have to have inertia behind you. You have to get your direction set so that you can catch it. Same is very true in investing, right? A lot of people, when you're talking about investing, they'll write articles. This is big in the financial press. They'll be like, if you had invested $10,000 or $100 in Microsoft in 2000, how much money would you have today? All right. Nobody invests like that. Nobody. Zero people invest like that. That is not how people invest. First of all, no one bets all their bet on one company unless they're in a gambling frame of mind. So if you're
Mm.
or if you're very wealthy already, and it doesn't matter to you that you're diversified, right? So if I had, let's say I had $20 million in cash, I don't care if I'm diversified. I could put all of it into Tesla. I could put all of it into Twitter. I'm not saying that's not a good idea, right?
I was gonna say, come
It's
on, come
not
on.
good investing advice. But if I had $20 million in cash, it really doesn't matter unless I'm a very like spendy kind of person. It doesn't matter because I got $20 million in cash. If I screw up that investment, it, like, I don't care. I still got $20 million in cash, right? You can do that when you're rich. When you're a normal person and you're trying to build wealth so that you can have financial freedom or retire or buy a house or whatever, right? And you need to use the long term growth of a company for yourself, you need to diversify. Otherwise, you're taking substantially more risk, right? So every time you diversify, you're reducing the risk that that one company you're investing in is going to go belly up or have poor returns, or it's going to turn out that their way isn't the best way, right? So because you're basically putting money in on a regular basis, think of that as every time you're placing your paddle in the water, right? And think of this as a long race. You're racing from Newport to Catalina, and every time you put that paddle in the water, it's just a little teeny tiny bit of extra force that you're applying. That might be $100 a paycheck. That might be $50 a paycheck, whatever it is. The more you can put in, the better your returns will be. And so for me, when I was thinking about this, I'm like, all right, well, how do I take advantage of opportunities? And I was thinking, well, right now we're living in a time of great opportunity because the market is tumbling, right?
Oh god, yeah.
Technology stocks particularly are getting hit very, very hard. I know this because my portfolio has just bottomed out. So if you're like, well, the S&P is almost down 20% for from its peak, I'm like, well, my portfolio is down a lot more than 20%. But
Yeah.
that's because last year my portfolio was up a lot more than the S&P went up, right?
Mhm.
So because I'm heavily invested in technology stocks. So what happened for me was that I was riding a big, massive wave last year. And now that wave is passing under me and my boat is slowing down, right? My boat is slowing down. But the thing about financial markets is there are more waves coming, almost always more waves coming. And I say almost always because historically this has been true. But theoretically, we could have World War III, and I mean, shit happens. This is possible. Long term, I do believe in us as human beings. I believe we'll get through this. I believe we will solidify what's going on in Ukraine. I believe we will overcome our hardest difficulties with COVID. I think there are a lot of very smart people, very good people trying to work on these problems. I believe that we will. I'm hoping we'll do something on climate change. I'm not as optimistic about climate change. Climate
That was
change
a
is
big sigh there. That was a
that's
big ass sigh.
climate change is the thing that I'm probably the most anxious about, and the reason for it is because I'm worried about our democratic institutions. So the biggest, none of those things though is as big as the problem with our democratic institutions right now. So to me, that is the reason why, that is the one reason why I would be like, well, maybe there's not another wave coming up, or it's at least it's not a wave that we as individual investors can take. Because when you lose your democratic institutions, what happens is it opens the doors for I've never actually said this word. I've only heard people say it. Uh, rulership by people who steal. That's what it means. It's not an oligarchy. Kakis. I'll look it up. I don't remember what that word is. It's basically
It's a big word,
like
folks. It's a big word.
as soon as you lose the ability to call out political leaders for their grift, you're kind of screwed as an investor, because you're forced to invest in the things they're investing in if you're even allowed to, and even then they're probably going to just be able to steal money from you as part of that. So Kakistocracy it means leadership by thieves, basically.
He said it, folks.
Kakistocracy. Oh my, it's
Say
like
it 5 times.
aristocracy, but
Say it 5 times fast now.
Kakistocracy. Okay. So that's a risk. There's always risks in the future, but I hope, and I'm even going to say I believe, that we can come through this period of democratic instability stronger on the back end. With that hope, I continue to invest. And I invest in individual stocks. And so, like California waters, where you've got funky waves coming from the left and funky waves coming from the right, and maybe something coming from behind, and then like for some reason there's a wind that keeps like changing directions and pushing you to the left and the right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If you haven't paddled California coastal waters, it's special. It's special.
Come out.
Yeah, enjoy. I mean, some days are beautiful. It's really, really nice. But other days, kind of like who programmed this? Who programmed this video game?
Like
anyway,
yesterday.
Yeah, like yesterday. That was fun yesterday. But my point is that each of those waves coming in from different directions, each of those breezes coming in from different directions, represents potentially each one of them a small piece of energy that you can catch and channel, right? So when you invest in individual stocks, as opposed to, say, investing in big market funds like S&P 500 tracking index funds or something like that, when you're trading individual stocks, each company essentially is like a little energy bundle that you can collect and use. And so there are different ways to take advantage of this. And you've heard this probably if you've been following investing for a while. You can be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy, right? That's the saying. But you can also think about it like this. When you're in that trough, when you feel like your canoe is starting to slip and slide backwards, and you kind of get sucked into that, and you're starting to get sucked back into a wave that's coming up, that's when you set your paddle, and that's when you move your butt, and that's when you start to really apply more pressure. In investing terms, when that happens, you're starting to feel the energy come up from behind you from the company you invested in. That's when you can apply more money, invest more into that. So when I was investing more mechanically, what I would do was during market downturns, I would change my investments from, say, 10% of my paycheck up to 12% of my paycheck. And then when things were riding high, I might take it back down again. And I'd be like, all right, things are very expensive right now. I'll take it from 12 to 9 or maybe 8% of my paycheck. And now what I'll do with individual stocks is I will look at opportunities and I'll be like, all right, where's my opportunity right now? I've got some money to invest this month. Where's the best opportunity out there? Oh, I see this stock is down, but I believe in the company. I see that stock is on the way up and I believe in the company. Put some money in both of those, ride those as they continue to move forward. But the key point is you never stop paddling, right? Well, unless, all right. With sometimes you'll stop paddling because you're tired. Sometimes you'll stop paddling because you want to style a little bit. But that's when you're winning already, right? So you're on that wake and you're like, yeah, I'm styling. But there are times when investing that you will want to stop paddling, I guess. You might want to stop putting money in. And it depends on your personal situation, right? But that consistency, like that idea that, all right, I'm going to get forward momentum here. If you're doing that, you can't always know there's a wave coming up behind you, right? So sometimes you just have to paddle. Sometimes you just have to paddle. But yeah, that's my thriller, rogue cop, catching the wave analysis of both investing and paddling and how it all works together. And folks, that's also why we call this show Riding the Wake. This is literally why we call this show Riding the Wake. So this is my secret. This is our dark secret as to why we call this show this.
Because we never know where it's going to lead us.
Never know where it's going to lead us. So we have a new feature, by the way. New feature. Today we're gonna call it Reading the Waves, and hopefully this will be fun. If this is fun for you, let us know. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pick some trends, and we're gonna guess if they're gonna be fads that are gonna fade out, like one of those waves that's kind of come up behind you, and then right as it gets to your boat, it just goes.
It doesn't deliver.
It delivers nothing. Or if it's a trend where it's a wave and it's coming, and it's like, it's getting bigger. Yeah, here you go. Here you go. All right, so I've got a couple we can discuss real quick, and we can go fad or fail. Wait, fad or fab? Fad or fab? I don't know. We'll call it something like that. Fad or trend?
Pad or fad or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Are they something we can catch or not?
Or riding or huli.
Riding or huli. All right. First one we're going to talk about. A lot of digital ink has been spilled about NFTs. And I'm not going to talk about NFTs in a general sense. I want to talk about specific kinds of NFTs. And these are some of the NFT projects that I've been observing and I haven't bought into yet, but I'm observing them. So one of the concepts I actually do like, but I don't know if it's going to be a fad or not, is this idea that you can build a digital organization around creative work, like designing comics, films, or shows around characters. So what I've seen is NFTs where people can buy particular characters, and then people in the digital space will be able to contract to design films, comics, shows, what have you, card sets, like physical or digital card sets for these characters. What do you think? Does that have legs outside of what they're basically trying to do? Is they're trying to create like a digital Marvel or DC comics or Image
Yeah,
Comics.
this sounds like the total meta, verse to me. And I want to say I would like to believe that it would, we would ride this wave. Unfortunately for me, I'd probably say I'd huli it because the idea of somebody buying a character, like for me, okay, like Iron Man, Superman, they belong to everybody. So if you're buying it, like to me, that's like, no, dude, you don't own, you know.
Oh, I think you may be misinterpreting, or maybe I'm misinterpreting. I didn't even think of it that way. But maybe, but I don't think so. So here's what I'm thinking.
I mean, you
They're
own
doing
if
you don't
you're
own the
buying
character.
something.
You don't own the character. What you own is um rights to you own collaborative rights over the universe, right? So you might let's say let's pretend that it's Superman, right? And it's not a DC thing. So if you bought
Yeah.
the character of Superman, that character might then become part of a comic, it might become part of a film, it might become part of a show. The revenues from the sales of those things, I believe, are parsed out to all of the members of the groups as a dividend. I believe. At least that's how like it could be. It could happen, right? So the concept, I don't know exactly how each group is handling that, but it's
Hmm.
not like you own the characters specifically and the character rights of the person you buy, because that would be a management nightmare. No one would be able to use your character. I believe the way it works is that people in the organization who are on the creative part of it, they would have rights to use all those characters. And then the people who are owners of that character universe, basically it just means that they own rights to royalties. That I think. I think.
I mean, I would like to say, like I said, I'd like to say that we would ride this wake, but right now it seems like a hooey. I would have to see how it would, how it would mature. And then I would be like, okay, if 6 months to a year, if I see something that would catch my attention, I would probably jump on this. But I don't know. I don't know if I would right now. That's just my opinion.
I feel like you're probably right. It's probably a huli right now, and honestly, that's probably why I'm not touching them yet because I've seen them. Like I'm following some of the development on Twitter, but I'm not sure how it will work in the real world.
Yeah.
And I have some worries, especially about royalties and the management of the money and all that. I do worry about that quite a bit. And because a lot of these NFT structures, they're they're corporations with decentralized ownership. And what does that
Mhm.
mean for my rights or my
Exactly.
liability, right? So imagine that I'm one of these rights holders, and imagine they come out with, let's call it a movie, right? They film a movie, and it turns out that one of their characters is actually ripped off another artist, and that artist developed that character while they were working at DC, and nobody knew this, right?
Hmm.
But it all happens, the movie comes out, DC sues them, and then where what's my liability? Because
Yeah.
it's not a corporation, right? So if I'm protected from liability as a shareholder, so I can own shares of whatever publicly traded company. If that publicly traded company goes bankrupt, I'm not personally liable. If they commit murder, I am not personally liable. Like all that stuff that is committed by the people who run the organization, I'm protected from liability because that's the way we structure it in the United States. I don't know how other countries do it, but I'm guessing that's it didn't used to be that way, by the way. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that you were personally liable for all this stuff that happened. And so this idea of separating liability is very important. And it's why corporations are the sort of norm for large business operations. So I would say huli for now. And I think there's a lot more risk in it than people are aware of. Much more risk than people are aware of. Interesting. Okay, cool. So, second one I wanted to talk about. What do you think about paddling as a U.S. pro sport? Any kind of paddling. Do you think that's something that's going to happen in the future?
Well, I mean, I would say that the people who are in the Olympics who paddle are professional athletes. They do get sponsors. They do get paid by the sponsors. So whatever sport they're in, that I would say that's
Are
a
they
pro
pro
sport.
though? I thought they had to be amateur.
Well, once you get sponsorships and get paid, like in my mind, you get paid. Guess what? You're a pro.
Okay.
You are a pro. That's in my mind. Now, I know in other countries, paddling is a professional sport.
Yeah. I'm talking specifically here. What do you think?
It's gonna be a huli for a long, long time because we can't even get it in the Olympics. Like we can't get dragon boat in the Olympics.
But is that something we're even trying to do?
I think we've been trying for like the last what 10, 15 years to get it into the Olympics.
I think
Dragon
that'd be a
boating.
fantastic Olympic sport. But
But so I mean I want to say ride the wake, get put some, but who would we you would have to have the states that are near the coast.
is soccer in the Olympics? I mean,
Yes,
football. Is it
like
really?
American football or just
No, no,
regular.
no. Soccer football.
Yeah, I believe so.
Is it really? I
Yeah.
thought it wasn't. Like baseball's not in the Olympics.
No, but soccer was. Remember we I thought.
Oh, soccer is. Soccer is, right. Soccer is.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't I don't I want to say I envision paddling being a pro sport, but I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon.
All right, 3 hulis or 2 hulis so far. 2 hulis so far. I'm with you on that. I feel like paddling is very very niche right now. I know it's not in the rest of the world, but man, I think it would be I think it would be cool to be something more people did. I'd like to see a lot more paddlers out there on the water.
Yeah, but then how would we get access? We'd have to take over the boat, those big boats. I don't want to take over the big boats. They already hate us as it is. All right, moving on.
Moving on. All right, next one. Next one. Augmented reality. All right, so this is what I mean by augmented reality. So there's real reality, which is like what you can view and smell and sense in the real
Uh,
world without having some sort of digital interface to be able to look at it, right? So virtual reality is when I take something like this thingy and I put it on my head, right? And I'm looking at everything that I see inside of it, but I can't see out, right? So I'm in here. This is virtual reality. So there is an environment inside of it that I can access, but once I put it on, it's very difficult for me to see what's going on around me. Augmented reality is the idea that you've got those sort of Google glasses, or maybe you've just got a phone and you're holding your phone up and you're using the camera on the phone. It's sensing the area around you, or the camera in your glasses. It's sensing what's going on around you, and it's putting up an interface on that reality. And when you move around, that thing stays in place. So maybe it's like, I've got some ears on your head, right? And I'm like, right, it places some ears on your head and you got funny ears coming off, right? And when I turn and look over here or over here, those ears stay in place because the AI is like, oh, the head of the person you're talking to is over here, and we're going to stick the funny ears on either side of it. Okay, cool. This is augmented reality. So you can use augmented reality to play games. You can use it to do an interface. It's similar to that idea of having the heads-up display in your car, where it displays on the windshield
mhm.
instead of displaying on on the panel. But it's private, so only you see it generally. I mean, it's shareable if it's on a phone or something like that. But augmented reality is very much like the idea of a heads-up display about the world around you. Theoretically, it could do things like show you a restaurant menu for the restaurant that you're looking at, or it could you could go out to a field in a park and it could have like things that you could go do out there. Maybe you could go to a museum and it would give you information on what's happening in the museum, or it could you could say you're a technical person and you're going out and working on the electrical lines or something. You might have a heads up display here, and when you looked at particular lines, it could tell you things about those lines, like it could give you statistics, or it could give you a walkthrough on how to do a particular thing. Or maybe you have a piece of equipment, you're like, what piece of equipment is this? Tell me what this is, and it will tell you more information about it. That's augmented reality. So I've given you a lot of possibilities, but I'm going to tell you that right now, many of these possibilities are in their infancies, if at all, and they are under development. And it very much looks like it looks like the early phase of computer development almost. Is very young, is very young, and it's very fragile, I feel like. But there are a lot of people who think that this is going to be the thing. There are a lot of people out there who are betting their careers on this. I know some of them. I've even developed a, an AR game.
Ah,
It did. I ended up. We ended up not doing it. There were some practical problems with it that I did not believe the industry would solve. Like, I wanted to do something specifically for a particular audience. I wanted it to be playable by people outdoors,
mm,
specifically people who are waiting in lines. So I wanted it to be one of those kind of games that you could play waiting in line, say at Disneyland or whatever.
mm.
And the augmented reality system just would freak out anytime people would move around.
Oh, see, now this the concept just reminds me of people who Do you remember when, and I don't know this is if it's on the same lines, but when people were doing the Pokemon going
Yeah, yeah,
around
yeah.
cities?
Pokemon Go is an augmented reality game.
Yeah.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
just like, okay, first of all, I don't understand the concept at all about having a phone and going chasing after a character. It was like people were like freaking freaked out. They're like, "Oh, there's this character, and I have to go catch him." No, no, you don't. You want to go catch him, but you don't have to. Like people were like addicted to this. Um,
It was the
so
chapstick up the nose. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
chapstick up the nose. The thrill of
and
the chase.
and I was just like, oh my god, you guys are so stupid. Just I mean, that was like to me, that was like one of the most stupidest things you could do. Like, just go chase after an invisible character on your phone.
Oh, it's
Okay,
they could see it. I mean, it
they could see it, but
existed
I didn't see
digitally.
it.
No, you couldn't
All
see
I
it.
all I saw was somebody going like this. Stop. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
and then they're like,
Yeah.
throw the
I
little
didn't
thing
catch
at
him.
it.
I didn't catch him. I'm just like, what the hell are you trying to catch? There's nothing there. There's nothing there. So I didn't understand that. Once somebody explained the concept to me, I was like, I started laughing because I go, do you realize that this app is getting you out to see wherever outside? It's getting you to go outside and be active. It's not about the chase, it's about getting you fit. You getting your steps in. Because we are a morbidly obese society. They wanted you to get off your ass and go outside and get some exercise or wherever you were.
And to enjoy nature a little bit, right?
Yeah. So that's when I saw that. So to get to your point, augmented reality. I think we ride this wave even though it's in its infancy. However,
That's funny. I didn't expect that from you. Okay, maybe I'm gonna be the naysayer
how
here. Tell
how
me.
however, we have seen what happens because it's been shown to us in movies. What happens when we rely on augmented reality or technology too much? Take the Minority Report, for example. Right there. Good example. They
So
were trying.
Minority Report, for those of you who haven't seen it, is based on the idea that you can predict whether someone will commit in the future a crime, and they call this precognition, and and then they would go and not just stop the crime, but they would jail the supposed perpetrator.
Yeah. So that had augmented reality too, because it had, you could see, you saw the reality, that you saw the place, you saw people, you saw technology being at work, you could pull files. We've also seen, you know, I would hate to say it, but Terminator, the rise of machines. Not to say that that would happen in reality, but let's just kind of take that as a pre-warning that we need to do everything we can to make sure that this augmented reality could be beneficial, with also taking in the the repercussions that we might suffer early. You know, that's just my thing.
Okay. So for me, pardon me. For me, I feel like augmented reality has limited limited practical applications because the things that are being proposed for it almost always have a better real world or a better virtual world or a better digital like handheld mobile solution that already exists, right? So for example, the example that I gave you where someone looks at a particular device and something comes up on screen that gives them technical details about that. Well, I could program that. In fact, there's an app right now that I just downloaded because I was curious about what tree is outside my house because it's a horrible tree and I want to ask the city to remove it, or if I can remove it. So there's an app you can get that basically is like uh, uh, horticulture kind of thing. You
Yeah.
can take a picture of a tree or bush and it will use AI to figure out what that is. Cool, right? Do I need AR fitted glasses and haptic interfaces implanted in my fingers to be able to find that information? No. Is the best place for me to read that inside the lenses of my glasses? No, because I might want to show that to somebody else, right? I might want to go, hey, June, look, like there's information about this tree or this thing. Like I can just turn this around and give it. Like I'm not gonna be all like, here, look at my VR, look at my AR glasses. I'm gonna show you what. Like here, stick these on over your glasses. No. Also, I have one, two, three. My eyes aren't great. Four. I have one, two, three, four, five.
Do you have prescription sunglasses when you paddle?
I do have prescription sunglasses for when I paddle. I have these are for my prescriptions for when I want to look like a Chaeble's when I want to look like a Chaeble's accountant. I like these. These are great. These are not good for looking at the computer. That's why you don't see me wearing them online. These are my computer glasses. I have to have these adjusted. I have three that I wear on a regular basis, and I have one pair of just dark glasses that I wear in the car, right? I have I have four pairs of glasses I'm constantly changing out to correct my admittedly bad eyesight, right? I'm not going to want to have an AR interface on top of these glasses constantly. And I'm sure as heck not going to want like
Uh,
my AR glasses constantly like on my face. And then like I don't even know how that would work for people who have corrective issues for their eyes. Um, Even with glasses technology the way they are right now, the fact that I need four different pairs of them, I'm not going to buy four pairs of AR glasses. Even if they were to make them as small and light as these are, like check these things out. These weigh almost nothing, and they have this fantastic little. I'm like selling these. I don't even know who makes these. They have this fantastic little arc right
mine
here.
suck.
These
Mine
are
suck.
so cool, and they only work with someone like me with this big old bridge on their nose. My point is, AR is heavy, awkward. It's not easily shareable. Like, I, I, I there are no haptic interfaces. So Minority Report, the scene in Minority Report that everyone thinks of is when he's like, when Tom Cruise is
Yeah.
like he's got his AR glasses on, or maybe there's just a holographic interface, and he's like typing and doing all this stuff there. All he's doing in the real world, he's waving his hands around and doing what the actors do in Harry Potter films. He's waving the wand, right? And the instructions that the directors give to the actors waving the wand, when the actors say, well, how do you cast this spell, the directors just say, just do what feels good, right? Do what looks cool. That's what they do. It doesn't matter, right? So that's what Tom Cruise was doing. He's like flailing his hands around, but if you had AR glasses on, you know how frustrating it would be to try to use your little gripper things to move all that stuff around, like, or to have the AR to like try to figure out which ones are your hands in the interface, and then what are you moving, and all right, am I pressing on it with the finger, or did I just move my finger in a funny way? It doesn't know the answers to any of those things. It doesn't. And you would probably have to have things implanted in your fingers, like maybe like little implants in your fingertips, so you could do things like squeeze or touch or tap on the table. But even if you did, you know what feels really good? You know what feels great? This keyboard. This feels amazing. I spent an inordinate amount of money putting this keyboard together. It glows. It has like reflective like interface. Like, I don't know if you can see that it glows on one side.
Oh yeah.
This is a fantastic freaking keyboard. It costs less than any sort of haptic device that I've ever heard of. It feels so nice under my fingers. I know where the Y is. You can't do this in AR very well right now. And my point probably is you probably never will be able to. The closest thing I can imagine to coming to it would be a typing interface that you could roll out on the table that would have a little bit of tactility to it, and then you just tap your fingers on it on the table, or maybe move your fingers around. Like, I've seen some devices where you can kind of move your fingers as if you're maybe stroking a guitar, or like playing with a joystick, and instead of typing, you're using predictive text tool to do that. I've seen some custom I don't want to use the term keyboard. It's not a keyboard. It's basically a custom interface for typing that's not a keyboard. You could do something like that. But again, very difficult to do in AR. Like, conceptually, someone might invent something and startle me, and I'll be like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever, and everyone gets it, and that'd be great. And then I can act like an old man and be like, I'm never going to use that. I'm going to use my tactile keyboard from the 2020s. And people would be like, Dad, it's the 2050s. Nobody's been using those for 30 years.
You know,
I don't care. Get off my lawn.
You know, we are old. We were born in the 1900s. That still gets me every time I hear it.
You know, we were born in the 1900s. Not the 19th century. The 1900s. But it still sounds bad, right? It still sounds bad. Not a good time to be born.
Yeah, after that explanation, I think I'm going to agree with you now. You have overturned my boat.
All right. So, augmented reality, so far huli.
Yes.
Maybe someone will generate something. There's just so you all know, if you're thinking about investing in this, there's billions and billions of dollars behind this. Meta is behind this. Microsoft is probably working on something. Apple's probably working on something. I would say everybody's working on something in this that's got billions and billions of dollars to throw around. And even people who don't are working on it. So, and I do invest in it, kind of, but only in the picks and shovels kind of way.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one now. Canned wine. Cans of wine.
Huli.
I'm gonna
It was
say
it was
huli too.
it was bad enough when we had boxed wine. Okay.
Have you ever bought a box of wine?
No, and I never
I've
will.
opened a box of wine, and I think I've had something out of it, but I never purchased it.
I will never buy boxed wine. So, yeah, huli. We don't even have to discuss the whole
Canned
canned
wine.
wine. No,
We don't have to discuss it. Just
it just
it's
speaks
just
for
wrong.
itself. It's like pineapple on pizza. That it's just wrong.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. So last one. Last one. Near and dear to my heart and also to your heart, CBD products. Just FYI, we both invest in CBD, and we both invest in a company together. And also, I invest in a number of marijuana or hemp kind of companies besides the one that we invest in together.
Yep.
So, CBD products. What do you say?
I'm riding that wake so high, baby. Riding it.
You know what is funny? All the things we listed here, they're all hoolies except for CBD. And I'm like, I'm down with that too. I have a story. I have a story. I like tweaked my back over the last 2 weeks, and it started spasming really bad after we did our race this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I've been using the CBD roll-on from Zone In, which is the company that we invest in. And that is amazing. It was able to chill my back out, I think. I mean, obviously I don't have like, what do you call it? You can't do a controlled trial on yourself because you've got like one person. So like when I was done with that, I did three things. I took a pair of Advil. I took a CBD a CBD pill because I can't take too much of it. It gives me a migraine in my teeth. And then I used the CBD roll on specifically on my back. And I don't like taking a lot of Advil, so after I did the initial Advil, I tried to stop, and then I was basically trying to keep just with the CBD pills 2 or 3 times a day, and then using the Zone In, and yeah, like most of the time now, except when I wake up and it's kind of worn off, I'm feeling like I'm recovering really, really well, much better than I used to when I would throw my back out. Like
Yeah.
I'm super impressed. I'm
Oh,
super
yeah.
impressed.
Let me tell you that roll deep that Zone In has. Oh my God. I love that stuff. I, like you, put it on after our race on Saturday.
Yeah.
My legs, because I was in seat 5, and I'll tell you, I couldn't even feel my legs halfway through that race because it was so tight, and I was just like, I'm just gonna get my body movement. I can't do anything about it. I got in my car, my back was hurting the next day, my arms, everything. I'm just rubbing. I was like rubbing it all over. I'm just like, and you know, I felt good. Like it just released all that like tension and stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course, you go out and you work out and do a lot of stuff. But yeah, it was, yeah, that real deep, man. CBD, if you haven't tried it, dude, I would recommend, if you have any pain, anything, look up CBD first. Don't just go try it just because we tell you to try it. Look it up.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah. Do some
to,
research.
whoever you need to talk to. And the company that we invest in, Zone In, they actually on their products have a lot number, and they will tell you when it was when the hemp or the CBD was cultivated, their process, everything. And I mean, it's yeah, zonein.com, I believe, if you want to go to that. It's just I
Actually, I
can't
don't
stop.
think it's
You
that.
know, is
I,
it zoning?
I want to make sure that
It
I want to
should
make
be.
sure that um,
I could be wrong.
it's zoneincbd.com.
.com. Okay,
Yeah.
zoneincbd.com. Zoneincbd.com. Uh, yeah, it's just great. When my brother started the company, and I don't do this because he's my brother. Even if he didn't make the product, I would be like, dude, we have to do this. It's just a wonderful product. Like it had helps me with mental clarity. It's let me be more patient or help me be more patient because I'm a person who's always up here. I am Harlan can tell you, I am like, okay, we gotta go. Let's kill this. Da, da, da. Let's go. Let's go. When I take zone in, when I take the capsules or the tincture, it brings me down to a level where I can still have that edge, where I can still have that competitive edge, but I don't feel like I'm going to um, go off the deep end, get really pissed, get so riled up that I'm pissing other people off. It calms me. It makes me go in that zone where I can be productive and do what I need to do.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think it's important to note is that CBD is legal,
Yes.
and it's a supplement, right? So like it's like taking magnesium or something like that, or some of these more botanical like supplement kind of things. Obviously, because it's not a mineral, it's biological, but the THC for the most part has been removed to the point where it's almost unmeasurable. It's very, very low. So THC is the psychoactive ingredient that you're used to when people are like tripping on, marijuana, but CBD is associated with reduction in cellular cellular swelling, I believe it is. What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
what's the
I don't know what
term?
the I don't know what the medical
Choose.
term is, but
I'm
I know it does
blanking on it.
help. I know it does help with mental clarity. It helps with regulating diabetes too.
Yeah.
It's
For
helped me with.
me, yeah, for me, it's really about relaxation. I do get some of the mental clarity benefits from it, but for me, it's more about chilling out and feeling like less anxious, and also just the muscle recovery benefits.
Oh yeah.
So helpful. So anyway, definitely riding that wake, and yeah, I think I'm hoping next time we'll have a couple of things besides just one that we can say we're riding the wake on. But again, a lot of things that are new are fads.
Yeah.
And not everything is the thing that you're gonna, pick up on, and not all of them are investable, right?
Yeah.
So
So one out of five ain't bad.
1 out of 5 ain't bad. We'll have to come up with some for next time. If you have any ideas of things that we can rate, whether they're huli or ride, go ahead and put them in the comments below.
There you go.
So that was today's show, everybody. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And Naya, can you remind people how they can contact us?
You can contact Harlan, myself, or both of us at writingthewake2 at gmail.com. That's writing the wake, the number 2 at gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at writing the wake, one word, or you can go to our Twitter page and find us at writing the wake. You'll see a beautiful picture of both Harlan and myself on there. We do check Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And our website, writingthewake.show. That's writingthewake.show. Was that good, Harlan?
That was fantastic. So tune in next week for episode 14, where we will be covering. We don't know yet. Until
The
next
law of
time,
surprise. The law of
the
surprise.
law of surprise. Until next time, hug the huli, and we'll see you on land or in the water. Peace, everybody.
Heck the hoodie.
Bye,
Heck the hoodie.
huli. Bye, huli. Bye-bye.